this weather today is so beautiful, and I know a lot of times we don't we don't like the rain, we don't appreciate the rain. There's so much to be grateful for, and you can kind of just feel yourself like it's almost like being wrapped in a little blanket, and settling into the sort of the energy of you know, the soaking of the rain into the ground. So nice. It reminds me a lot of the practice of loving kindness, which is what I'll speak about today. Loving kindness is one of the heart practices. It's a practice that we use to cultivate a tender heart, a softening of the heart. And it's a really beautiful practice and also really valuable in our lives, especially in our society, because tenderness is not a quality that we're encouraged to have toward ourselves or toward other people. Tenderness is actually quite strong because it allows us to be vulnerable and to be with other people's vulnerability because we're human, and that's a big part of our nature. A big way that we are, one of the main ways that we can connect with other people is through vulnerability, through real connection, not just, having fun after a drink in the club. you know, there's some connection there too on some level, and that's great, to have fun. But to allow ourselves to be vulnerable with ourselves and with other people can lead to real deepening of connection that gets us past all the surface, the surface things that we have in common, what our jobs are, what our backgrounds are, what our education is, what our socioeconomic status is. All of these things are surface, and they're really societally conditioned. And it's common that we are in those worlds, and then those are the, people are also in those worlds are the kinds of people that we tend to find in our lives and associate with. And of course, that's natural, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But it can often lead us to having this false perception of other people and of ourselves. We maintain our bubble, stay in the bubble that we are in, whatever that is. When we are presented with somebody that is not from inside that bubble, or a situation that takes us outside of that, we can notice some discomfort come up in us, some judgment even around that. And it can be something that we really bring into our identity and attach and identify with, right? This is who I am, because this is what I do, this is my background, leads to a lot of division, a lot of false sense of us, them, me, that person, a lot of othering and division that isn't necessarily intentional. We don't do it intentionally. That can also lead to us hardening ourselves against certain people, certain situations, whether they be people in our lives or people that are not in our lives, but that we have a certain perception of. And that hardening, of course, and othering makes it really easy to see other people as less than. It makes it really easy for us to dehumanize and allow suffering for those people, even if we don't directly participate in it, right? Often we don't. Often we're not walking around hurting other people that are different from us. But we are, because we live in a society, we're involved in it in some way. And our perceptions really do impact that. It really is important. We can start to noticing when we're becoming hard toward people. And often that hardness is not, for lack of a better word, foreign to us, because often that hardness we're directing toward ourselves as well. If we can direct it toward other people, we can direct it to ourselves, and vice versa. So, using practices or cultivating practices that allow us to open ourselves, to soften our hearts, it's really important as a human, as a person. We all want connection. We all want to feel like we have people in our lives that we can be our true, authentic self with, where we can remove the mask and they don't run away, right? We want that deep down. Every one of us wants that. And the practice of loving kindness, it's also called metta, loving kindness. It is so valuable because it gives us a tool for which, with which I should say, we can cultivate a softening, a tenderness, compassion toward people around us and toward ourselves. Because if we can't be that for ourselves, we cannot be that for anybody else. And we've heard that before. If we can't love ourselves, we can't love other people. But it's not just romantic love, right? So it's really beautiful. And so in loving kindness practice, we have statements basically that we repeat to ourselves internally. So you can sort of think of it as a mantra, but it's not quite a mantra. And it's usually 4 lines, and there are kind of a standard set of lines, and we'll do those today, but they're completely customizable. This isn't a thing where you have to say it this way. It's like some magic incantation. It's not like that. I mean, it is kind of magical, but it's not dependent on the words you use. The words you use are significant, and so it's important to use words that resonate with you, that feel authentic to you, that can allow you to access that softening within yourself. So while I will give you sort of, the traditional words, if you decide to use this in your practice, you can absolutely customize the words to yourself. And there are 5 parts to metta. I think we'll have time to do a full metta practice. And traditionally, it starts with offering loving kindness to ourselves and offering it to a loved one, somebody who we easily feel love for, who brings up those feelings within us easily. An uncomplicated love. Can even be a pet. Then we move to a neutral person, somebody who we've seen in our life, but we don't have any particular feelings about one way or the other, the mailman, the barista, somebody in our life we come across. Then we move to the difficult person, somebody in our lives who we struggle with, who tends to bring up difficult emotions in us. It's important that we don't use somebody who triggers us traumatically, somebody who has not caused us trauma. So like a normal level of difficulty, if that makes sense. And then ultimately, we offer loving kindness to everybody. And that one can be a little tricky because it can feel sort of like, abstract and amorphous and like hard to really access. And so sometimes it's helpful to bring that large group down a little bit. When I first started doing it, I would just, offer loving kindness to everybody in the city that I was in, or maybe the state or the country. Eventually building, because you want to keep access of that feeling of compassion and those softer feelings. There's a story of the Dalai Lama years ago when he came to talk in the US, and somebody asked him a question about how do you deal with self-hatred, like feelings of self-hatred. I'm really, really paraphrasing this. So you might be familiar with this story. And it took him a while going back and forth with his translator because he didn't understand self-hatred. Not that he didn't understand the question. He understood the question, but he didn't understand this idea of how can you hate yourself? Like there's no concept of this for him. And some people say in Tibet in general, but um, and it's just interesting that we have so much self-hatred in the West. So much of us struggle with some level, and I'm saying self-hatred, that's like the extreme, right? But some level of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, that it can be difficult actually when we start doing loving kindness meditation to offer ourselves loving kindness. And traditionally that's where we start because it's assumed that that's easiest, right? So another thing I would offer is that, and I may do it this way, sometimes we switch the loved one or the person it's easy to give love to or feel love with us ourselves, and start with them and then move to ourselves. So if you find when you're doing a loving kindness meditation that it's difficult, like you feel some kind of resistance toward accepting the loving kindness toward yourself, then to switch to offering it to the person or being that you can easily access that feeling for. Because in this meditation, we're really trying to access those feelings and grow them. We call it cultivation for a reason. We're watering it. Just like the rain coming down and soaking into the earth, and it's watering the grass and the trees and the flowers that have already started coming up, even though it's barely February. So it's really important that we remember that there may be some resistance that comes up during the course of the practice. And just remember that access, the access point for really getting those emotions. So if you find, some people are really wounded emotionally and find it difficult to access that when thinking of a loved one, right? So that's why I've mentioned pets. For some people that might seem like that's weird, but sometimes that's where we can access it the most quickly. It's right on the surface. We look at our pet's face and, we come home. If you have a dog and they're like so excited to see you, you can do absolutely no wrong. I mean, that is an amazing feeling that you can access right away. So if you can't feel it with another person, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up over it. We don't want to add more, the self-hatred to the process. So that's a little bit about them, offering to ourselves and offering to a loved one. And then I just want to talk a little bit also about the difficult person. And I will offer to you that this is where the practice is the richest, where we have the most opportunity for growing our tenderness and our softening of heart. Because often the difficult person is somebody we don't want to deal with and we want to push it away because we don't like the way it feels, right? We don't want to deal with it. It's going to take a lot of energy. It's going to take a lot of emotion. It often triggers conflict, which we don't want to deal with. But these people are our greatest teachers because they offer us an opportunity to work with things that are hard for us. And again, often we don't think of, we want life to be easy and comfortable and happy. There's no growth in that. Easy, comfortable, and happy comes after the hard stuff, right? Comes after working through the hard stuff. So it is the difficult people that are our greatest teachers and our shiniest mirrors because they will show us something about ourselves that maybe we don't want to see, right? They might show us angry us, resentful us, hateful us. All of those things, those are little mirrors. And that's partly why we don't want to deal with them, because they show us those sides to ourselves that we don't necessarily want to admit to. We don't want to see it. So when thinking of a person who is difficult for you, that you want to maybe soften toward, choose somebody who, like I said, is sort of an everyday difficult, not a traumatic difficult. You don't want to re-traumatize. And you'll notice the shifts, in every level that we go through. Not level, but every part of the metta meditation that we go through. You'll notice shifts in your emotion, shifts in your energy when you bring these people to mind. And allow that to be there. Allow yourself to notice it and kind of be there, like it's like right here. Okay, I'm focusing, offering metta here. It's my direct object, right? That I'm really focusing on. But right here, sort of in my peripheral vision, just like when you're driving, you're aware of all this stuff going on around you. You have to be. But the same thing with this. I'm aware that, oh, look, I'm feeling resistant. I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling, hateful. I'm feeling whatever the difficult emotions are that come up around this person. Don't try and push them away. Also don't let them take over. Just kind of let them sit there in your peripheral vision as you're offering the central focus of loving kindness to that person. See what happens. Part of mindfulness practice is curiosity, allowing something to be in your awareness and becoming curious about it. Just letting it be there, letting it unfold, seeing what happens. So I would encourage that. Just, see. You might notice judgment come up, and that's okay. Just kind of notice it's there over on the side. So whatever comes up, where central focus is the metta, but other things may come up on the sides. And just know that that's normal and that's okay. You're not doing it wrong. Especially if you're new to this practice. It can be like, well, this is weird. You know what I mean? And then the same thing with when we're doing metta to all people. All beings is the tradition, but if that beings word doesn't make you feel comfortable, then that's fine. You can substitute that for something else. So let's go ahead and have a sit. We'll come into a comfortable seated position that still allows you to be upright and alert without straining, without tensing your muscles too tightly. We'll begin by closing our eyes, or if you would prefer, you're welcome to keep your eyes open slightly, the soft gaze a couple of feet in front of you. We'll begin by taking in 3 deep inhales and exhales at your own pace. Allowing the muscles to relax and just melt toward the floor. And allow your breath to come into its natural rhythm without controlling, without restricting. Just allowing it to be whatever it wants to be. Gently scanning your body from the top of your head down over your face, and pausing a moment to check in with your jaw, a place we often hold tension, and letting it loosen if you're noticing any clenching. Continuing to scan over the neck and shoulders, the upper back. Again, pausing a moment to notice if you're holding any tension here as well. And if so, just letting it go. Continuing the scan through the chest, back, down into the hips, pelvic region, down over the thighs, through the knees, over the bottom part of our legs, and into our feet. And just noticing the sensation of the floor beneath the feet. The pressure, the temperature, and tingling sensations that might be there, any colors that might be present. Just noticing the experience of your feet on the floor. And letting your awareness widen to include the feelings of the knees, sensations within the pelvis, and the feeling of sitting on the cushion. Expanding further to include the feeling of the stomach, the hands on the legs, feeling of your chest, the muscles in your back. Expanding to include the feeling of your neck, your jaw, and the subtle muscles around your eyes. And allowing all the sensations within your body to be held in a bubble of awareness. Feeling the full presence, being in this moment only. The freedom of being in this moment without worrying about anything else. Like floating in a pool of water. The lightness, the awareness of the space. And allow yourself to take in 3 more deep inhales and exhales at your own pace. Allowing your breath to be natural, rising and falling as it chooses. And we'll begin this Metta Meditation first bringing to mind a person, an animal that allows us to easily access feelings of tenderness, of compassion, of a soft-heartedness. The person can be somebody close to you, it can be a mentor, teacher, a spouse, a friend, somebody you feel tenderness toward. Just picture this person or being in your mind and allow the feelings to accompany the image. Perhaps it makes you smile a bit. Notice how your body feels when thinking of this person or being. And through the phrases, I will say you, but you're welcome to substitute that you with the person's name when you repeat the phrases internally. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well in mind and body. May you be free from inner and outer dangers. May you be at ease and happy. Just allowing yourself to feel how it feels to offer this person or being tenderness and love. And as you would gently hold a feather in your open palm without clenching it and crushing it, allow these feelings of tenderness to be held within your body as you direct the phrases to yourself. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be free from inner and outer dangers. May I be well in mind and body. May I be at ease and happy. Allowing those feelings of tenderness to soak into our bodies. Noticing if you feel any resistance or if you feel a further opening. Continuing to hold those feelings of tenderness and directing them toward a neutral person in your life. Somebody that you have seen or had little interaction with, and so have no particular feelings one way or the other about. And offer them loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be free from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in mind and body. May you be at ease and happy. Allowing yourself to notice how your body feels, what you notice, without judgment, without hooking into any thoughts. Allowing yourself to hold that tenderness gently as you bring to mind a person who brings up difficulty for you, somebody who is challenging, somebody who's just an everyday difficult, not somebody who's caused you trauma. Noticing how it feels to hold that tenderness as you bring their face to mind. And extending loving kindness to them. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be free from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in mind and body. May you be at ease and happy. Noticing how your body feels. Recognizing any emotions that may come up, any sensations within the body. Just noticing without judgment, without getting hooked into stories. Holding that tenderness lightly and turn it toward all beings. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May they be free from inner and outer dangers. May all beings be well in mind and body. May all beings be at ease and happy. Just sitting for a moment in the silence, bringing awareness to your body, to the tension or relaxation, to the emotions or feelings, just noticing. In the final moments of this meditation, I invite you, if it feels right for you, to place your hand on your chest over your heart, and sensing the tenderness of this gesture, holding this tenderness for yourself, and offer yourself gratitude. Gratitude for allowing yourself to make space in your day, to soften into your body, to soften your heart, to remember that this compassion, this love is always within you and always accessible. Remembering that you deserve your own time, and offering gratitude to yourself for being a priority in your life. Close out the meditation with this poem called Self-Compassion by Rosemary, Wahtola. It's like the scent of rain after a month of drought, the way it rises up and fills the lungs and quiets the body and softens the mind. That's what it's like when, after grasping, spinning, reaching, clenching, at last, exhausted with my own fear, I lay my hand on my heart and see through my thoughts and practice loving what is here beneath my palm. This frightened person and the life that lives through me. Not a single promise that I will be safe, but oh, as I press my hand to the beat of my anxious heart, I promise I will be loved. And when you're ready, you're welcome to open your eyes and come back into the room.